All right, everybody, welcome. Today we are here with David Abram. David is one of the most in-demand customer experience marketing keynote speakers and consultants in the world today, and is an author of three amazing books, maybe more than that, but right now the three top books out there. It's not what you know, not who you know, it's who knows you, visibility marketing, and his latest book, Why Customers Leave, How to Win Them Back. And that book is quoted by Forbes as one of the top 7 business books that entrepreneurs need to read. And I am looking forward to getting to that book as well. And I love your philosophies. I love what you're doing. And David, thank you for being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's a great time to have conversations about who's doing different things. What are we doing right? Everybody's sort of looking at retooling, looking at the new normal, or whatever you want to call it. So I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you and your audience.
Yeah. We are stepping into a whole new world, and, looking at what you do and what you teach and your philosophies, it's going to be really interesting to see how companies pivot in the future, and what has been done for the sake of efficiency and automation in the past, how that affects the customer experience in the future.
Yeah. Well, you know what I mean? With the whole pandemic and everything else, before, during, and after, there's been a lot of attention towards the regulatory, the health aspect of distancing and everything else. But there was a big shift that had started 10 years before of how we do business differently. I think it's only been accelerated by what's happened in the changes in the world. I think it is, to some extent, it has brought to fruition what has long been prognosticated about how much we do virtually and otherwise. But we've also come to recognize that there's a downside to, Zoom fatigue or whatever else. We're learning that we can have conversations. This is a great example. This is the perfect use of the medium, where we can meet face to face. We can have a great conversation. Other people can listen in. But in terms of our gathering, in terms of the engagement and the accommodation, that started a long time ago. Our changing expectations. We've heard for a long time that technology changes and markets will change, but people don't change. Are you kidding me? We have so changed our expectations for access and expediency and here's the crazy thing about those in business is that for the first time ever, we're being compared against industries that have nothing to do with what we do. We always had to be sort of one of the best in our industry. Now it's like somebody saying, well, you don't know when the delivery is going to show up. Really? Uber knows. Let's see.
Yeah.
Here's where they are. They're at this intersection. They'll be here in 19 minutes. Why can't you do that? You don't offer overnight delivery? Amazon does. Soon they're going to do 30-minute drone delivery, right? And that's coming sooner than later. So the world has changed, and how we want to do business. And sometimes today, that competitive advantage comes from just being remarkably easy to do business with. You create complicated processes that work for you, but put some of the onus on your customers or some of the hassle on them. They get frustrated. That's what drove my book, Why Customers Leave and How to Win Them Back. I just sort of came to recognize that why are they doing so many things, pardon my language, to piss us off? And I don't think they do it intentionally.
It's all in the sake of efficiency and cost and operations and
predictability,
things like that. Predictability and simple things like being in a restaurant. I've read in your book and your content, about substitutions. Are you kidding me? You can't substitute scallops for shrimp. Charge me. I don't care. I've had people tell me in restaurants, and I'm a restaurant guy. I grew up in the restaurant industry.
Yeah.
I've owned restaurants. I'm also real estate, construction, development. So those are my two backgrounds. And I've owned restaurants. You can split checks any way you want. You can split payments any way you want. You can substitute anything, anytime. But restaurants will tell you, sorry, we don't do substitutions, even when I'm willing to pay for it. I've never understood that.
Well, but I think I understand why. But here's the errant thinking. And so I was talking to somebody last week, and they said, it's sort of the obvious question of the book. Why do customers leave? Or like, because we can, right? Because we have choices. But if we've been talking about this, because I really don't do customer service. I think we kind of get the customer service. You either get it or you don't. We certainly have to indoctrinate our new workers, whatever, into our culture. But the experience is different. It's from our perspective as customers. How do we judge that? And I think what's happening is there's so much that's out of our control. people were asking like, how could it possibly be getting worse if we've been talking about this for 30 years? And as business owners, and I'm actually a former Vistage chair, so I ran Vistage CEO roundtable groups. I've spoken to 400 of them across the globe, 24 countries. I've keynote spoken, if that's a word. But here's the reality: is we're realizing there's so much out of our control. We can't control the economy. We can't control competitors or technology. So we try and control what we can. And so here's what I'm saying. Here's my diagnostic portion. Here's what I see happening. Is we're trying to control the customer journey, that path. And if we can create that journey mapping and plan it out, we can, let's see, they buy research here, and then they inquire, and then they select, and then they buy, and they customize, and they order delivery. And if we can control most of that, then we can have a greater level of predictability, right? Of behavior and process and thought, and ultimately purchasing and profits, right? Here's the problem. Your customers have never read your employee manual. They don't know the way they're supposed to do it. They just know the way they want to do it. And it makes sense. If you are Chipotle, right? You line up here, you order, you customize, you pay, you get your drink, and you sit down. But how many of us have business models that are that streamlined? Well, it may work for us, but what's lost in that, and this goes back to your example, what's lost in that is any kind of accommodation. If somebody's in a restaurant, they say, "Can I just get shrimp?" No, sorry, we don't do substitutions. Why? You know why? Because the cook doesn't want to do it, and they don't want grief from the cook. You know who doesn't care? You know who doesn't care what the cook wants to do? Everybody. Just charge her a few extra bucks, make her thrilled. Here's the alternative: not giving her what she wants, and then she goes online and she rants and tells hundreds of thousands or whatever people, right? Back in the day, we grew up, you and I, because we both come from sort of the hospitality field. And I do a lot in hotel and hospitality, a lot with restaurants for many years. And we grew up with what we used to call guest relations philosophy. And it went something like this. And everybody listening or watching this has heard some version of this. And it goes like this. The average person with a positive experience tells 2 or 3 people, but somebody with a negative experience tells 10, or some version of that, right? Today, none of that is true. Today, we tell thousands.
Yeah.
Today, we tell millions. Just drag a paying customer off your airplane. See if that gets spread around, right? Yeah. So the ramifications for underperformance today, the ramifications for frustration, if we do even minor things that frustrate, you can tell us how important our call is. And then when you put us on hold for 45 minutes, then, or we're experiencing unexpectedly high volume of calls, that's a lie. That's a lie. They knew exactly
when the world has changed. So we are in a review economy now. So what does everybody do? They go online, they look at reviews, and you get consistent bad reviews if you're a restaurant, if you're a hotel, if you're any kind of a service-based business where people can look at the reviews. It's a whole different world than when you and I, were coming up in the business before all this technology and the internet and all that, when literally you would tell 10 or 20 people. It might take a while to get around, but now, man, you're out there instantly if you tick somebody off.
It's a really hard time to be a leader in business, because not only do we have to deliver well for our customers, but we have to ensure compliance for all of our people on the front line. What a horrible position to be in. You can have a $1 billion brand and a moron 16-year-old, and I can say that because I have a 16-year-old who will take a hamburger bun and wipe it on the floor and then serve it up and take a video and put it on Snapface or Link Chat or something. My kids are like, "Oh God, Dad, you so don't get it." I said, "Oh, no. I teach it."
I'm on BookTube.
Yeah, I teach it, and I have 5 times more followers than you have. And they're like, "Shut up, Dad," But the point is, you're right. I mean, everybody tells everybody. So the experience is more important than it ever has been. And it means, as a business leader, as an owner, whatever your position, sort of walk that customer path, look at every point of contact, and ask some really basic questions. Is that the way it should be done? It's the way we do it. It's the way our competitors do it. But is that the way our customers want to do it? Or is that the way they're going to want to do it in a year? And so I think when you look at sort of the pandemic, and it doesn't even matter when you're looking or watching or listening to this, history will record this time as a time of remarkable innovation. If necessity is the mother of invention, boy, do we have a need to streamline, to be easy when we have so many choices, and we do have so many choices in the marketplace. Are you easy to do business with? It's a pretty fundamental question.
I love that topic. So I do a lot and coach people all over the country in the real estate investment development syndication
Right.
world. And one of the things we talk about in terms of raising capital and winning deals and being able to find deals, a lot of people say, how can I get brokers that represent the sellers of these properties, because it's very competitive, to want to do business with me. And that's the number one thing I teach. You need to be easy to do business with. Same thing when it comes to raising capital. You need to be easy to invest with. You need to be thinking about the experience of that broker wanting to do business with you. Why would they want to do business with you as opposed to 10 other people they could deal? And I will get
Yeah.
deals even if I'm not paying as much as somebody else, because I'm easy to deal with. Same thing as a developer. If I have people working for me on projects, I can get them to do things because I'm easy to work for. And then same thing from an investment standpoint, if I'm easy to invest money with from that standpoint, and I communicate and I think from the perspective of that investor, it changes the game.
Well, it does. And listen, for those listening, we don't mean to just give B2C examples. I mean, restaurant, it's B2B as well. Can you reduce complexity?
Mm-hmm.
Is your process optimized for speed of service, of delivery, of answers for questions? You have a 9-step complicated process, which some legal aspects certainly require, but can that be streamlined into a 6-step process or a 5-step process? Can you take something that has historically taken 2 weeks and can you reduce it to a week? That alone creates amazing competitive advantage. What you hear a
Well,
lot.
in the restaurant business
Yep.
specifically on that. So when I had restaurants, we had food service vendors, very competitive business, right? Food service, vendor business. So
Sure.
suppliers, and they would come in, they'd say, look, we'll help you design your menu. We'll help you design your recipes. We'll help you get your food costs down. We'll help you get your labor costs down. We'll help you be a more profitable operation so that you want to do business with us. And they made it as easy as they possibly could on us in the restaurant industry. Same thing as a developer in the construction industry. I always wanted to be, as a general contractor, somebody who was easy to do business with my subcontractors. So I had regular meetings to help them in their business to make them more efficient, so they were more profitable working for
Yep.
me than some other builder. So when I needed that plumber, man, he'd come running. When I needed an electrician, he was on my job, not the other guy's job, because I helped him get better. I was organized, efficient, easy to do business with.
Well, you think about the process and you think about the questions that you generally get. What are the ones that you get on a consistent basis? Where are certain things? Looking at the supply chain. Can you create increased visibility or accountability into that supply chain? If there's questions that they're asking on a regular basis, is there a way for them to access that information 24/7? Today, that's the experience. I think probably it's no more so than what you see in financial services. The traditional answer, if you talk to a bank or somebody working with high net individuals and say, what's your competitive advantage? And it would always be this answer. It's this. We know our customers by name. It's the relationship. Well, what happens when 95% of your journey today doesn't involve a person, right? I'll keynote a big conference. I get a nice check. I go back to my hotel room. I sign it. I put it on the desk. I take a picture of it. It's deposited. My daughter, who's going into her senior year at college, when she needs money, she texts me. And her ringtone, by the way, is a cash register sound. Because she's like, what was that sound? She was across. I said, that was you texting me across the room. And she says, a cash register, Dad, really? I said, you generally just want money. She goes, actually, that's pretty funny. But I just Venmo her the money or I transfer it from our bank accounts. Not one of those points of contact involves somebody asking, so what are your plans for the weekend? Right? In your basic bank script. So even within that industry, they're rethinking what customer experience means. How much of it is easy access? You ever go to a website? This is something that I know, Greg, you're going to agree with, and everybody else who's watching and listening. We go to a website, we have a question. Doesn't matter if it's B2B or B2C. You go to the company website, you cannot find a freaking phone number. Like literally, you're looking, there is no phone number.
Yeah.
They made a conscious decision that we will not let our customers call us. Like we're that good. Are you kidding? I mean, you have us exactly where you want us. You got us to your website, and that's when you piss us off.
Yeah.
Because we'll just have them. Here's what you get, right? You get the evil contact form. We'll just have them fill out the contact form, right? Then we direct all the information to everybody to one place. We can capture their information, so now we can market. Here's what they're not getting. They think they got it all figured out. We don't want to fill it out. 85% of people will never fill out a contact form. They just call a competitor. And they have no idea. This is my mantra when I get on stage and otherwise. The greatest source of lost revenue for your business is the customer or client that you never knew about. Because they came, they didn't like, or they called on the phone and they didn't want to navigate your HR system when a real person could have just directed them where they wanted to go. But please listen as our menu options have changed. I hope you have 45 minutes for your simple 12-second question, because we were so damn cheap to not. And I listen, I frustrate people, and I know them, but I said, listen, I am the voice of your customers. You have us where you want. You have us on the phone, and then you make us wait and frustrate. You get us to your website, and you won't give us a phone number. It's pretty basic things. And there's a cost benefit. That the bean counters are very happy. Look, we just cut another staff person. But how much did you lose in revenue? And that reputation builds. And what's the lifetime value of that customer? Anyway, I get on a rant.
Well, it's interesting because it's come full circle. So in the industry, we came from a place where it was all live customer service, and then there was this shift towards automation and call centers, and then the whole auto directory and auto attendants and things like that, which everybody was kind of, they didn't want to talk to anybody. I'm busy. I don't want to talk to somebody asking me how my day is. I just want to get to apartment, division B or whatever. And now it's shifting the other way, where people want to talk to somebody live, and that's actually a unique selling proposition for a lot of companies now. We have a live answer service.
Right, at least the option. And I get pushback and say millennials want to text. I said, listen, what we want is the option. Like every one of them should say, if you want to skip this message, please press 0 for a real person. Problem solved. I was at Walmart, literally. I'm grocery shopping at our super Walmart by our house. I'm just south of Denver in Castle Rock, Colorado. And they just did this big conversion of this massive cart. I got 3 teenagers, home right now, eating me out of house and home. It's overfilled. And as I'm walking up to the checkout, the manager tries to direct me to the self-checkout. I'm like, oh, sorry, I don't work here. I'm not trying to be demeaning. I'm bad at this. There is never an item that is not an unexpected item in the bagging area. And they said, no, but we want to give people a choice. It's not a choice. When there's one staffed lane with 9 carts deep and 24 self-checkout, it's social engineering. It's not a choice. The problem in business, even if we are in construction, if we're in financial services, we're in trucking and logistics, it doesn't matter. If we create a process that is cumbersome, that is time consuming, that is frustrating, that does not allow access to a real person, or at least the option, I guarantee you are losing more business than is driven away by your worst employee.
Yeah, it's very, very true. And, especially in software. So a lot of software companies, tech companies, they don't think that human connection is important. And I consult with companies all over the country. And I've got a couple of tech companies I'm working with right now that have SaaS products, software as a service,
absolutely.
SaaS products. And I've told them the number one thing is support. You need to have a dynamite support department, or you're not going to survive. And, it's amazing how many, because that's what they do, right? They are automating people's lives, industry, business, whatever it is. So they want to think on that level in terms of every interface in their company. But the one area that people need you the most is the area that you don't need to automate. That needs to be.
Right. Well, and there is a shift towards that, and it makes sense when repetitive tasks. I spoke at a big customer experience conference in Bogota, Colombia, and there was a lot of focus on artificial intelligence. I was in Abu Dhabi, the same thing, and I love seeing the automation, and it makes sense when they compare and contrast 1,000 radiologists looking at images and AI running the same thing, and the difference in terms of quality and accuracy is astonishing. But when you replace people with AI chatbots, because I always have questions, and maybe it's just me, but it's never a frequently asked question. You ever have questions that just aren't? The AI chatbot can't handle that. No, I'm not naive and saying we're not going to shift towards that direction, but there's got to be a button that allows us to talk to a real person. Because I just won't do business with companies that won't allow that, because my time is too valuable. I can't stay on hold for 45 minutes. Now, when you see certain technologies and accommodations say your expected wait time is 7 minutes, I'm cool with that, because now it's managed expectations. Now I know how long if I have to hit the restroom or something else, if I'm on a wired phone that I can't leave the desk. But it really comes down to sort of looking at that every point of contact and really asking those questions. Is that for our benefit? Is it to make life easier for our staff, or to make life great for our customers? And it goes back to what we were talking before. I mean, one of my big things is the whole idea of accommodation, is that we say no way more often than we need to, just because it's not what we do. But I think one of the things we've learned during this whole upheaval with the pandemic is that as some of the companies looking to shift their markets, their products, their core competencies, say, what else can we produce with the competency that we have? Who else maybe needs what it is we do if our traditional marketplace is dried up? I mean, I certainly went through all of that with, being a professional speaker. As all of the meetings canceled, how else do I deliver that content? And
Yeah.
so I have this phenomenal engagement series that I started working on a year ago. But you're right, and we've realized at every incremental level, every new 1,000 people that we sign up that get this message, that this program from us, we need to add another customer service person to be able to have real people to help them walk through anybody who has some difficulties. So it's a time of retooling. It's a time of asking some hard questions. And 3 months from now, you're going to wish you started today.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love the message, and I love the whole philosophy. We talked about it before we started recording. The industry I grew up in, the restaurant company that I work with called Lone Star Steakhouses, we had a mantra: yes is the answer, what's the question?
Yep.
Now, it doesn't mean the customer is always right all the time. It just means that, hey, if there's a request within our ability, yes is the answer, what's the question? We are approaching it from the mindset of we're here to accommodate. And the most important philosophy they taught us was this one right here. Southern hospitality. Look at me, smile at me, make me feel good, treat me like I'm a guest in your home. If you're entertaining people at your home, is there anything you're going to say no to? You're going to go out of your way in every way to accommodate that guest, that customer, that visitor in your home.
Well, and what's interesting is, and I've had some really robust conversations with people who have fairly complex internal processes, who will push back and say, listen, I can't circumvent my entire process. I can't stop my manufacturing for one small. I said, yeah, but it's too easy to be dismissive because most people won't ask for an accommodation. So the ones that do, there's an easier opportunity to do so. But one of the exercises, sometimes I'll go do a full day, and I've done it Singapore and Johannesburg, and I have a variety of exercises. We'll break people up into teams, and we ask some real profound questions. But one of them is the whole idea of getting to yes. And so you think about every possible question that you could be or have been asked by a customer, a client, or others as well. And there's only three choices. Number one is find a way to say yes, offer an alternative, or sometimes the answer is no. I mean, if you have a vegan restaurant and somebody demands a buffalo burger, that's a hard no, right? Because it's literally not what we do. But this is the time where so often there's something that, you know what? Maybe we could. Maybe that's something that, are those questions being passed along to management so that they can consider maybe that is a new service that we might offer. If there's enough people asking for it. Let me give you a really quick story, and a story that I told it in my book, Why Customers Leave. And it was a unique situation. So I'm at Chicago O'Hare Airport, and I'm at a restaurant there on one of the concourses, and I'm at the rail sort of facing out towards the concourse, and I'm pretty close to the hostess station. And I'm watching in about the 45 minutes I was there, person after person asked the hostess a question. She says no. They throw up their hands and they leave in frustration. Ask the same question again and again and again. Now, you will not be surprised to learn that what was being asked of her is the number one question asked at airport restaurants. And the question is, do you have a table next to an electrical outlet? Right? Makes sense, right? But it kept being, no, we only have like two and it's already taken. They would just leave and leave. They probably lost $800 in revenue just in the time I was sitting there. Now, the question is she passing that information on to her manager? No, it's not her job. At least in her mind, it's not her job. Her job is to see people. It's a busy restaurant. It's a crazy, busy airport. But what would it cost for them to bring in an electrician overnight and rewire so that there's a power station at every seat? Now, some of them might argue we don't want people to stay till it's different. It's an airport, right? And it's a little different now with the distancing. But the point is, what is being asked that we are traditionally saying no to? Can we find a way? Because the answer is find a way to say yes. It's a hard no. And the other one is a reasonable accommodation. And the phrase I love to use is, let me tell you what I can do. And that alone, like if I showed up in Sri Lanka, actually, for a speaking engagement. I was in Colombo, Sri Lanka. Beautiful hotel. I get there at 6 o'clock in the morning. Of course, I've been traveling all night long. My speaking engagement is at 2. So I'm there plenty of time. There's no hotel rooms. Checkout isn't even till noon. So what they did, which was so great, was they said, listen, we have no rooms available. They're all full. They probably won't be 6 hours, but we have a hospitality suite. Here's what I can do. You can iron if you need to take a shower. We've got the gym there and everything else. That's all I needed, right? I wasn't demanding a room. Just what a wonderful accommodation. So we should need to learn to say yes more often, certainly more than we did 5 years ago, because somebody else will. I'm not suggesting you need to be unprofitable, but we need to say yes more than we have.
So let's make this on a personal level. So
Yeah.
you have had to say, this is, in this time, I can't be there, but this is what I can do.
Right.
So how have you evolved from that standpoint?
Yeah, well, there's a lot of accommodations, and some of it, in my speaking business and my industry, they talk about a pivot. I don't know if it's a pivot. I think to a major extent, it's sort of adopting technology and capabilities that have been there, but I've absolutely had to create new levels of accommodation. So if I can't be there physically, I have multiple venues. I'm actually creating a whole virtual video studio with big white screen and green screen and multiple cameras, the investment that I'm making to make sure that I can deliver as much of an experience as possible. But let me give you a different example. If somebody calls and asks me to speak on a subject that I don't, I speak on customer experience and I speak on marketing and strategic branding. So all about competitive advantage. But if they called and say, can you speak about efficiency or leadership or cooking or whatever else? The answer isn't yes. The answer is, let me tell you what I can do. I have some phenomenal colleagues who can knock it out of the park for you on the platform. The best of service that I can be is to direct them to a resource who can best meet their needs, as opposed to what we're seeing a lot during the pandemic. And if part of somebody's business has dried up because their industry or the people they buy from can't do business, they're saying yes to everything. We'll figure it out. Just get the contract. We'll figure it out. Really? And what's the risk of underperformance? What's the risk of your reputation by promising something that you can't deliver? So actually, one of the chapters in my book is like don't promise something you can't do at a high level. Don't accept business you can't do, and don't say that's easy for you to say. No, play the long game. We're all building our reputation, which is our brand, which is the same thing. And so part of my accommodation, and the answer is yes, it may not be me, because I will absolutely direct them to the right resource. I spend time working with clients where I'm not getting paid because I want to help them through this. Here's the other challenge is we talk a lot about, we don't want to be a vendor. We want to be a partner. Well, what does that look like? What it looks like is having the other party's best interest in mind. Help them, even if not everything is a quid pro quo. Not everything is let's scratch each other's back. Sometimes we just help because we can help, because we have skills to do so. And we trust that the world will recognize and that karma will bring it all back. So I'm a real abundance guy.
Yeah, same here. And sometimes the best answer is, let me find somebody who can help you, or let me find something that can help you, because that's just not what I do or what we do. But and it's really amazing in this time too. So we were such a socially disconnected world in some viewpoints before all this happened, and now all of a sudden we realize how important that human connection really was and is. And that's what's amazing of what's going on.
You bet. Well, the network is as well. I mean, here's another great example. So I was working with a company, a manufacturing, that actually do machine parts for jet airplanes and everything else. And there was somebody who needed a level of accommodation, but they couldn't, because they couldn't interrupt their process flow for these major clients. They actually referred it and partnered with a competitor to make sure that they got their needs met. I mean, we need each other more than ever. We are more integrated than ever because and not just on a touchy-feely level. It's not what I'm just saying. It's just smart business. Yeah. Is what are the resources? What are the networks? We learned that a long time ago when people started shifting to remote working and everything else. And we've done it out of necessity. But the workplace is changing. I've got a major architectural firm in Southern California. They do Kaiser Permanentes. They do community colleges and others. And they're literally talking about designing businesses and buildings differently, where maybe a third of their workforce might be rotating in and out. Are there better, more communal workspaces? I don't mean to go off on a rabbit hole here, but the world is changing. And so if you are head down in your business, doing it the way you've always done because it works and you're really good at what you do, understand that being good at what you do today is the entry fee. It's not a competitive advantage anymore. It just gives you permission to do business in the marketplace. So my question for my clients isn't can you, it's why you. What do you do different? And sometimes different is just faster or easier or less complicated. It's one of my things that I make very clear when I work with clients, whether I'm consulting or I'm speaking or leading strategic sessions. I'm the easiest guy you will ever do business with. I come early, I stay late, I engage. There was some big event and I'm like helping them put stuff on all the chairs, and they're like, you don't have to do. I'm like, of course I do. Why wouldn't I? Right? I want to leave that reputation, that brand, that he was like a dream.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's talk. We have a few minutes left here. Let's talk about number one, your book. Why customers leave. I love that. You want to hold that up again so everybody can see it?
Yes, absolutely. So this is what's really fun about this. This is actually now in. It's just been released within the year, and it's in 6 languages now around the world. It's you never know when you're writing it how well it's going to resonate. Forbes, it was just named as one of their top 10 business books of the year, and a lot of it is because it is it's just conversational. But it identified 24 things that businesses do that frustrate their customers. But at the end of every chapter is, first, it says why you do it. It's like, I understand why here's the policy behind it, why you do it, why we hate it as customers, and a better approach. So just a different way of looking at some traditional things, whether it's the impersonalization of mass mailings, whether it's being hard to get a hold of, whether it's all of us. There's one chapter, and I actually fought with my publisher because it's called "Don't Pee on My Leg and Tell Me It's Raining." And one of the editors thought it was very offensive that I said pee. I said, I don't think it is, but it's a well-known phrase. But it's, if you have to be late on payment, don't make it up. Oh yeah, we sent that out last Friday. Come on, just be honest, right? Those kind of basic things. Do you have a culture of that? Have we role played for every crazy scenario to all our frontline people? So I had a great time writing it. I've been thrilled with the response. And it's an audio book and Kindle and everything else. But look it up, Why Customers Leave. And it's in, we launched before the pandemic and everything hit. I was in Mumbai, India.
We know why they left now, right? Because of the
pandemic,
right. But...
yeah, that's a whole different one. But we launched in India, December 2019. And then it's coming out in Mandarin Chinese, not going there for that launch, by the way, Vietnamese, Spanish. It's fun. It's nicely gratifying to know that the message resonates. And so anyway, if people want to look it up, do that. If they want to learn more about me, you can look me up at davidavrin.com, AVRIN at the bottom. If you're watching the video, you can see the spelling of my name and see a video. And then let me tell you one more thing, if it's okay to give a quick plug, just because I think this is the most powerful initiative I've ever done. And I charge almost nothing for it just because I really want it to spread. But I have an initiative called the Customer Experience Advantage Morning Huddle. And the idea is that organizations get together once a week for a 20-minute conversation. Each week, a different subject done for you. It's a 7-minute video where I challenge you on how you think about a certain point of contact, how you engage with your customers, challenge how you have traditionally done it, and here's how it looks. And it's a 7-minute video offered or followed by a short conversation. And it goes on for like a year. Once a week, we're going to shut off our phones and we're just going to talk about our customers, and have been stunned at how well it's been received. In 4 months, we're already in 4 languages now with subscribers around the world. So look that up, customerexperienceadvantage.com. Yeah,
that's awesome. I appreciate you sharing that. And
thank you.
So as we wrap up here, this is, who knows how long this video will be out there, probably forever as people watch. So thinking about the past, thinking about where we are, and thinking about the future, if there's one takeaway today, if there's one message that you could deliver to anybody in their business, it's the game changer that you want to convey today, that one thing you want them to remember and never forget from this video, what would that be?
The one thing would be, don't assume that the way you deliver your business and sell to your customers is the way it's supposed to be done. It's just the way you do it. And if you look at how much our lives have changed, really look at every point of contact and say, is that the way it should be done? Could we do it better or faster or smarter or more memorably, or maybe just with less friction? There's my takeaway.
David Avrin, thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you for being here today. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you, my friend. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate the opportunity to share some wisdom and with your audience as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I enjoyed it.